I would just say that Willie is just one of those extraordinary people you meet in your life, and a light bulb goes off, and you realize this person has just a capacity to connect with people, unlike just about anybody I've met in my organizing work over the last 4.5 decades. Willie is somebody who just has a big heart and connects with people in a way that's just, I think, a real inspiration and a model for me to think about how we just have to open ourselves up to all communities, because we're all affected by these issues. Again, not just healthcare, but the issues that determine the fate of our health, whether it's geography or climate or education, wages, opportunity, voting rights. All these issues wrap around our lives, and we have to think of ourselves as part of the human tapestry. And Willie has helped to open my eyes to that deeper understanding. And I think that this is a real collaborative and an opportunity to learn from somebody who is in the trenches, somebody who's been doing this work for a very long time. And when we've spoken together about the 5% solution or the 5% mobilization, however we might term it, which means that we need to create a mass movement of roughly 20% of 20 million Americans working for the pro-democracy or the justice for all agenda, we can achieve universal health care. We can achieve universal housing. We can achieve affordable, free college education and trade school and so forth. That's what it's going to take to overcome the corporate strangleholds on our institutions. So without going any further, I just welcome Willie and thank him for his friendship and his ability to connect not only with all people, but us in particular tonight. So thanks, Willie, for coming on, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chuck, and I'll put the check in the mail for that great introduction. It's done. Well, listen, good afternoon, everyone. I tell you, it's an honor for me to have all you guys. I can't see you now because I'm on my phone, but just to be here and to know that there's a movement being started, I'm excited. And I think that's what we all have to be. But I got to tell you, though, Chuck sent a message out on about the 5%, and he took me to school. He gave me some thoughts that I've had for a long time, but sometimes we lose things in transition. You know, you get concentrating so much on a candidate, on an issue, and you forget how we got there. So, Chuck, I want to tell you, I really do appreciate, man. You really took me to school on that. Thanks for the information. But I want to say, though, we're in a different era right now than any time before. We got social media. We got people protesting. We got the Bernie movement. We got 45 in office. And that should be enough for us to start a movement. And that movement right now has to start now. We must, first of all, we've got to get the grassroots people on the ground and those minorities that have not participated actively inside our election process. I found that out right now in the International Minority Coalition. We have people from 11 different countries, and they speak a total of 30 different languages. And that's why our strength's at, because at the end of the day, I don't know how many languages you guys speak. I mean, I got a little English and a little bit of hello with different languages. But if you can send people into a community, into a neighborhood, a center of influence in there, they talk to people in their language. They let them know how important the 5%, how important healthcare is. So with that said, I just got 3 questions I want to ask everybody. Please chime in. The first question is there anybody on here think they may know some people that would be in that 5% that is needed health care? Do you think you know 5% of people that need health care that doesn't have it? That's the first question. And then I guess the other question is, who is affected most by coronavirus? Who's affected most by not having health care? And I guess my next question is, do we know any of the people that has went in that 5% that haven't, in that percentage that haven't had the health care they need? And I think that's one of the things that kind of moved me toward the health care. Now, when Bernie, it really motivated me because at the end of the day, when you look at 5%, Chuck, is that 20 million I think we're talking about? What's the population of the United States? And if you break it down, the population of the United States, with the states that we have and with the communities that we have, it's not really a big task if everybody's working towards a common goal. What we did with the IMC when I founded it was founded on the belief that if we brought people from all around the spectrum together, if we took the African Americans, the people from Latin America, the people from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Jamaica, Nigeria, we have people that now that are motivated to try to win because we're fighting together. And I know Chuck asked me once, what did I tell them? When I talk to a person, I say, you know what? It's only 10% of you, but there's 40% of me, or 15%. If we work together towards a common goal, a common cause, we can make these things happen. And I think that's the thing about it, though, is knowing, question, do we know anybody that needs, it's 95%, and we're looking for 5% out of 100. And if we don't know anybody that has one time said they need health care or come talk to you about health care, then we may not be able to reach them. I just don't think that's right. I think that the people I've talked to in my day-to-day, that's one of the main things that happen, because if you're not well, you can't work. So all the things depending on a good quality of life and a good quality of life come from health care. So I'd like to take some questions now. I know that was just kind of brief of what we did. Right now, as I said before, we're working on our second year, and we've been continuously growing each year. But I started off in the Democratic Party as a county chair. And during that particular time, there was a Hispanic coalition, AAC for the African American and Hispanic American in the Democratic Party. And I asked them one day, why don't we get together, go in the park, and have what we call a coalition cookout? And I think that was in 2007, sometime in 2008, weren't long in there. And what happened, everybody turned out. I was surprised. The state president came, or the people across the state came in. And I looked out and I saw what the world should look like. And that was just starting right there in Mecklenburg County. And when I went to the state for those 2 terms in the state, I never believed that, even though it was the African American caucus, that was truly not America. So now that's where the International Minority Coalition came from, bringing people from all walks of life, the people that can speak one language, or people who speak 5 languages. But they all have the same goal, is to be healthy and live a good life. So with that said, though, Chuck, again, I've been down with this sinus, not COVID-19, but with this sinus. So any questions? I know that's where I can really kind of maybe fill in some blanks for you guys.
This is Mike Huntington in Corvallis, Oregon. Willie, thanks for coming on. We're facing kind of a similar situation. We have people talking different languages. Some talk Instagram. Some talk, Reddit. And my question is, with 30 different languages, how did you communicate? Did you, obviously you had to find somebody that knew both English and the other language. How did you go about collecting those people?
Well, it's say like somebody from the speak of Spanish language, they have dialects. But what I've learned is there's a language barrier, but if you slow down and talk to people and I guess maybe make gestures, and sometimes it took me a while to communicate, but they had to learn to communicate with me. So we started off with stuff simple. Do you need health care? How is things in your life? Do you like your city council people, your county commissioners. I kept it kind of simple, and of course, as we started to grow, people could translate for me. You have to start with that individual that speaks a little English and get those basic points across to them. From India, I still have problems. I still have problems now, but we have built a relationship to where, I know they say music and love is an international language, but I think knowing how to help each other is international. So I hope that kind of helps. And again, I think the body language that you use when you're talking with people and they see that you're sincere about trying to understand them, you'll be surprised. A lot of people on the call speak a lot more language than I do. But I was determined that if I didn't understand what it was, I'd write something down or I would find somebody that could speak the language to get them to come back and bring somebody with them. And it worked. It worked, man. And I think the good thing about that in our group, we started off with everybody from different countries would say, hello, my friends, in their native language. And those that spoke more than one language, I would have them to maybe say hello in the different languages. So it was kind of a learning experience, but again, I think showing that you care about them and you want to build that coalition, the body language, and sometimes they may have a deer in the headlight look like me, but I keep going to we get something that we can define that we both want to fix. Does that help any at all? I mean,
yeah. I just wondered, where did you go to find the groups? Did you go to the Hispanic Workers Group, or how did you meet all these people?
Well, what I did at first is the Hispanics in Mecklenburg is 16%. And inside the Democratic Party, they had Arun Daria from India. They had Alan Diaz from Mexico, and they had somebody from Portuguese. And I met them, and they actually went out into their communities and started recruiting people. My neighbors from Ghana, my dentist across the street, my neighbors from Nigeria. So if you really look, there are people that you'd be surprised to walk up and speak to somebody, and if they even got a language barrier, I think the fact that people started helping me with people that had a slight language, but most people that are here now, they speak a little English, so I don't know. It came to me that one started bringing another, and somebody from India said, I know somebody from this country inside of my country, this village or whatever. I want to invite them to come. So it was like a referral from that center of influence that I talked about. So they went out and got it. And again, what city are you in, Charles?
Corvallis, Oregon, about 90 miles south of Portland.
Okay. So now, do you work with the Democratic Party, Independent Party, any of the parties you work with?
I haven't been active with the Democratic Party, but certainly the Democratic Party in this county fully supports Medicare for all and single-payer health care.
Yeah. So I think the first thing to do, and I found out that the Democratic Party, they realize that they need to increase minorities, especially now. The chair there asked them, do they have any auxiliaries there with Hispanic and Asian you'd like to talk with? And you'll be surprised and ask you why. I want to build that. I want to build a relationship with them so to get them to turn out to vote. You'd be surprised because you're actually helping that county to bring more people in. I found out a lot of people that have just not reached out to fear of not having the language. There's a lot of fear, but we got to get above that. I tell you, you'd be surprised. Again, that's one way. Do you work with anybody from a different country?
Not yet.
Okay, but have you went to school with somebody from a different country that you still have contact with? In college,
yeah, I'm warming up a little bit. Our neighbor is from Sri Lanka, and yeah, I can think of more people from other countries now that you bring it up. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. We started doing this, and you'd be surprised. I worked at Prudential for a while, and they used to call the Christmas tree, and the Christmas tree with branches that came out. You know one person, ask them if they know another person, and that person would actually get in contact with them. And I tell you what, just like you say, your mind is clicking. Go up to one of your neighbors, just you see them out, and say, "Hey, listen, I got a question for you." Ask a question that they need. It may be healthcare, it may be jobs, it may be all the different things. Ask them, what would you do to change the situation in the United States? And they'll tell you. But yeah, you on the ball now. You got it rolling. Talk to those people and let them know what you're doing, and let them know it's not anything for you, it's for us. And that's the thing I never use. I never say me, I always say we. And that's helped me a lot. I hope that helps some, though, man.
It does. I had an opportunity this weekend. I went mountain climbing with a supporter of our current commander-in-chief, and we reached a lot of common ground together, without mentioning the person's name. So try to reach out.
Well, you'd be surprised. And when you create that coalition, I tell you, man, it'll start to grow. Meet them like with this COVID-19, social distance is a little bit problem. But I met the first week. I started meeting them for coffee, sitting down and talking to them. And again, you have just listen to you talk when you want to make something happen with people. And now you got that school of thought, you'll make it happen.
Thank you. That helps.
All right. Thank you. Is there anybody else with a question?
So I'm Betty Keller from Vermont.
Oh, Betty, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I can't complain.
All right. We had
I don't want you to hang up on me.
So we are in a primarily white state, and it's really hard if you're talking about wanting to diversify your movement. And it feels like you are going to Black people to ask them to be in your movement because they're Black, and often,
well,
I mean, it just seems like you're asking them. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel fair to them to be approaching them for that reason. And it's actually
let me
hard to find someone.
Okay. Well, let me share work. I'm not asking them to be in our movement. I'm asking us to work together for our movement. I think that's the whole thing. If I go ask somebody from Spain or from Italy somewhere, I want you to come work with us on this. It's a difference saying, let us work together. And I think that's the dialogue that has to be used. And a lot of times, I think a lot of minorities, they think that. They think they go into a group to help that group and not help themselves. And that's why you have to identify, this is not just for me. This is something I believe we can work on for us. And again, the children. I mean, it's I understand. So in Vermont, I know the population there is mostly white in your area, right?
Oh, yeah. And I'm in the whitest part of the state.
Okay, well, let me ask you something, though. Do you ever go shopping?
Not a lot in COVID-19, but yeah.
Well, but even as white as Vermont is, and that's not a statement, but I think, though, in that case, I don't know any place in the United States where there's no minorities. Now, maybe a small percentage, but that's even more because, you see, now they feel alienated. The few that's there. And they have friends. Reach one, they'll reach out and tell you where everyone, the rest of them are minorities at. So it's kind of hard, I see what you're saying, in Vermont, though. But I think what we're trying to do, if I'm correct, Chuck, is to start at 5%. It won't just be Vermont. It won't just be Oregon. It won't just be Carolina. It's us working together to build that coalition all across the United States. And your part would be that one person, I tell you, they got a husband, a wife, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, uncle. They go to church. Somebody they got. If you can reach that one person, they'll bring somebody else to you. Now, it may not be a big crowd like some places got high diversity, but and again, I think when a candidate or the media, when they look out in the crowd and they see diversity, it's a perception, and that we are the world. So I don't know what I could do in Vermont, though, but I think, let me ask you this, though. Do you see any minorities in the city you live in?
So actually, I actually see more than you would expect of kids who are the high school age, because we actually have a private school in our town. And some people move to our town so that their children can be in a school that is more diverse, but typically it's white parents who have adopted black children.
Okay. Well, how about Hispanic kids or people from AAPI? So it's diversity.
Yeah, we have. I mean, we do have a couple from the Philippines in our church. But we don't see them then anymore because of the COVID. You know, we're watching church on Zoom. We're not actually seeing each other.
Well, do you have a church directory?
I do. Yeah. So I could call them directly.
Why don't you call them and ask them how they're doing, and just start a conversation.
Yeah. Thank you.
And think about it. Hey, listen. I just want to, and when you call them and to see how they doing, you break the ice right there. And then start that conversation like you're doing, like we're talking right now. And ask them, well, listen, how is your community doing? Is everything, and again, everybody got problems. It's almost like, the preacher go to church, you got a congregation. I know somebody that's got a headache. Somebody got a bad kid. Well, he's saying that because, the numbers going to make sure. Somebody didn't feel like getting up this morning. Somebody kid. So they got problems. It's just a matter of fact of defining something that middle ground that you can work together with them to have change for both of you. I think if you call, and I think that's a good thing, a good reason to call them.
Thank you. They're both physical therapists, so that will be interesting to see their perspective on healthcare. Another minority.
Whoa! You done hit a home run. You hit a home run. You done hit a home. You need to be telling me how to do this. Hey, that's the door. And this thing, they got clients. They got clients to come to them. And I'll guarantee you that one thing about minorities that come from other countries, they kind of stick together. They got their own communities. And that's what I've done. I went inside their communities. So I hope that helps some. But you got a good start right there. Give them a call. Check on, see how they're doing. And start the conversation.
Thank you.
You'd be surprised. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
We have other questions folks have for Willie Lucas?
Oh, I wanted to say before, it was interesting you brought that up, Willie, because I actually help Native people sometimes. Like, I know some Native people at my church who are Native Americans, and, well, I mean, because of the blood quantums and all that. But, yeah, it's interesting because her and her sister, I think they're enrolled in the Weapong tribe in Connecticut, which is the awakening language. Yeah. And I was thinking about talking to them about the next few days. So.
I tell you, and you start off the conversation. I just want to see how you're doing. I know we got a pandemic out here, and that opens them up. You don't know how much. If somebody calls you that you know, but you don't talk to them that much, and they call to see how you're doing. How does that make you feel?
It's interesting. It makes me feel like I'm not alone. Like half the time during COVID.
That's it. I got somebody care about me. And that's when you start that conversation. Yeah, that's a great start, though. And tell me you want to know more about how we can work together, help each other. Never say help me.
Right.
Because that's the thing about always stay with we, not me.
Mm-hmm.
And church is a good place to start, though, because a lot of people, they go to church, normally they got a good moral character. So let's just, I think that's a good way to start.
So, Willie, it sounds like your opener is not, where are you from?
I'm from North Carolina.
But I'm thinking when you're approaching somebody who you think maybe from another country, you first ask, how are things going with you? Is that right? You don't say, where are you from?
No. I normally start off, hey, how are you? I normally say, hey, how are you? And you'd be surprised. Most people, I think, and you can kind of tell, and sometimes they're a little bit shy. It's really hot out here today. I tell you what, I don't know, is it hot to you too? It's just me. You break the ice by getting those people to start a conversation. And you'd be surprised. And if the conversation going, I know one lady from Afghanistan, I invited her and her husband to our church. They came. And since they came, brought the mother. I think the other was her aunt, maybe a sister or something. But they came back to our church. And now they're members. So, again, never be afraid to approach somebody, because that person there are looking from somebody, especially when you think about this. If you lived in another country and you're working there, and the way the climate is right now with race relations, they want to see a pleasant smile, somebody that can talk, that has a genuine, and again, the body language that you use will tell a story. I really do think that, and the language barrier, you know what I'm saying? Never be afraid of that, though. And sometimes, I know this one lady, I was at the gas station, and we have T-shirts that says International Minority Coalition, and she was from Pakistan, I think she's from. And I stood where my shirt was, where she was looking at my shirt, right? And she did. She asked me, who were we? Who was I, and what was the organization? And that started the conversation. And she's in now, her and her sister. Well, one of them hadn't been back, but she's still in. So, I think we have to realize at this era of time, good people are trying to build coalition with good people, and especially with minorities right now. I tell everybody all the time that, security is in our numbers. Like right now, I've had a couple of deaths in my not my family, but people that I've known for years, and the group stepped up. They sent flowers without me knowing it, and just to find that people saying, "Oh, Willie, we sorry you lost your friend Chuck." Even Chuck called me. And you meet new friends, you make the world better. I'm just happy to be on and talking to you guys. I feel like I've made headway with this world. Anytime you meet somebody new, a good person, that is spreading the joy that we need in this world.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Chuck. It's Chuck or Willie? I forget. I'm sorry.
Willie.
So now? Sure.
Well,
somebody have
well, I wanted to share a quick story because he brought it up. A few weeks ago, I went to Dunkin' Donuts, and there's this Hispanic guy I got to talk to. He actually works at some parties near where I live in town. And I had no idea. I'd been going there with my dad for the last 5-10 years, and we had no idea he worked there part-time. We talked a while about different things, and he was just a great person to break down barriers with, for 20 minutes.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. So now, do you know where he works at now? I mean, nothing.
Yeah, he still works at some parties around the corner from my house, yeah.
So let me ask you something, though. So when you talked to him and you kept a conversation that long, do you know the more that you talk to him, the more he loosened up? Do you ever see him start smiling?
Yeah, he was really nice. We talked about different topics when we were eating, Dunkin' Donuts stuff.
So now, the next time you see him, you get a donut, you let him know that just in case the donut make you sick, you're gonna need health care. So many ways. I guess that better not do that. I think the thing about it though is your sense of humor with people, your smile. I would definitely go back to him and ask him is his family here, and just start the same conversation. You've already started a conversation, and I wanted to ask you a question. We're working, and again, we're trying to work with minorities and work together with us. Everybody coming together to work on a common problem that we have, and I know you probably have some too. And again, though, once the conversation started and you ask about healthcare, I'll guarantee you that will pop up, especially with minorities. Again, you got to start right there, and they can tell you about the communities they're in. And you'd be surprised, even in Vermont, there are more there than you know of if you get somebody to tell you where they are. And I think that's the thing, though. So I would take that 20 minutes that you had, go back, have a cup of coffee and a donut, and start that conversation. And I think the other thing, too, is when you can invite them to a mutual place with some friends to talk about how we can help each other. If you ever get them to do that, the ball game's done. And make sure that, this is something that you and you creating together. They're not coming to you because you already got something going. You trying to create something, which is true. We're trying to create more minorities inside of what we're doing. So make them feel a part of it.
Willie, this is Chuck.
Sure.
Yeah. The part of the conversation we've been having, with our strategy group is rethinking the idea of progressive politics, which, when we stop and think about it, that's really where progressive implies white to most people in the minority communities, and it implies distance, elitism, and so we've landed on this concept of justice. Could you speak a little bit about the importance of rethinking our politics and our orientation to issues that wrap around people's lives, that will help build this movement, around the concept, the idea of justice, beginning with the idea of justice first, and how does that flower into a mass movement? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Well, let me ask you this first. The people that I just talked to, they broke down the barrier. Another thing, when you talk about justice, how many people that you know are minorities have a problem with our justice system? If it's not the language, it's the people that feel like they've been treated unfairly. Mm-hmm. And again, we have to change the narrative. We have to change it the way people believe that we can make a change. I think, Chuck, we were talking once, we were saying, some people believe that this just can't be done. Every time there have been success, there's been a struggle, and there's been a movement. There's been a revolution. And justice is something in effect of all. If you don't believe that, ask them what they think about bars. I think that's the deep conversation. I think, I think too, though, is some people see a glass half empty, some people see it half full. I think in this time right now, it has to be half full, Chuck. And again, you have gave me so much information that I don't have. I'm an everyday person that believes in people. I believe that when I see a person, and if that person looks like they need help, I'm gonna talk to them. If I see a person who don't look like they need help, I'm gonna smile and speak to them. So that's something else we've lost. It used to be, and Chuck, like I'm saying, in an all-black organization, because we figure all black people kind of say all white. But that was a culture right now that is changing. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
So how has it changed? It's changed because this era has changed.
Right. This
is totally 10 years, I say 10, 12, 15 years ago, things are totally different. Today is something, justice is a big ticket, right behind health care. So even if those people are the health care is fine. Talk about justice, about our justice system. Do you know how the immigration has happened, what has happened with DACA and everything in the United States? Do you think that would start a conversation?
Yep.
So
Definitely.
let me ask you this though: what if you walked up to me and I'm from India, and I worked in IT? What would be the first, if you want to start a conversation? What would be the first thing you would say? I'm just a guess. What would be the first thing you would say? Yeah.
Just how are you doing today?
Yeah. How you doing
break like you said, break the ice and just have a real human conversation, and then from there you can begin to push out and discover how much you have in common. I think that's the beauty of your approach here, is that you're always looking for that connection, that common ground. You know, I think a lot of us unconsciously, I think mostly unconsciously, when I say us, I'm talking about the white population and the progressive in progressive campaigns and movements. There's this unconscious attitude of showing that somehow that I am or we are superior than the other, and that elitism is we just have to shed that. I mean, I don't think that I'm. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, so you're exactly right, and I think what you said makes a difference of bringing the minorities in, and that's been the biggest problem. They think that we think. They think that, especially white, they think that, well, they think the same way you just mentioned. So you got to change that school of thought. Well, let me ask you, Chuck, when the last time you walked up to a minority and started a good conversation? Be truthful.
You know, honestly, these days, just about every day. I mean, there are so many homeless people here in Philadelphia. It's heartbreaking.
Oh, wow. Philadelphia.
I mean, it's stores. I'll just strike up conversation with people, and that's not always been the case. So I'm not, you know, it's been a growing experience, and I attribute that to you and any number of other people who have opened my eyes to my own brand of elitism. You know, as a college professor, as somebody who has a more privileged background, and so forth. But there's just no ignoring the problems that are falling into the streets here in Philadelphia. So,
well, you know something. Now, since you're doing that, the next question is to get them involved.
Right.
And again, though, you know, when you see a person and the homeless or the person look like they may be living in poverty, or somebody you can tell is really stressed out, I think one of the things to do is the question, man, we need to change this. We need to change the way this world is now. Look, you can do it, though. You inspire me a lot, man. I tell you, we have to rely on each other, just like they would rely on you, Chuck, when you talk to them. But let me ask you this: 5 years ago, would you have the same approach?
No, not the same approach, but I have to say that, you know, I've knocked on a lot of doors in my time, and I mean, I've gone into all sorts of neighborhoods, so I've had those experiences, but you get some distance from that, and you forget. So it really does take practice. It takes really constant effort.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and again, when you're knocking doors, the first thing that they want to say is, you coming up, what do you think a minority thinks, though? And I'm just being straight about here. Well, here comes somebody white, want me to vote for them, and we still in the same mess.
Right.
I mean, I'm just being truthful. You have to change that perception. And that's why I never say me. I always start off with we, what we can do. Right, we need to make a change here, you know? So again, though, Chuck, you have such knowledge of how things have progressed through the centuries. I mean, the decades and stuff, man. Use that, man. I tell you, I wish every time I read it from time to time, just to let me know how easy, well, not easy, but how doable it is to get that 5%.
Yeah, absolutely. We've lost touch with this. I mean, Martin Luther King talked about the arc of history, and I mean, that's a blessing that I have, as you know, is that after organizing for a number of years, I went back to school and got a history PhD, which I think gives me some benefit. I put things in a different perspective. But having said that, the challenge is to connect to people's day-to-day lives, because people are living from moment to moment. And how do you get them to think broadly, about 10 minutes from now, or an hour from now, or a week, or a year from now, let alone 50 years since we had the most recent successful movement in this country, the Civil Rights Movement. We've not had a major movement of success like the Civil Rights Movement, for 52 years, going back to 1968 when Martin Luther King Jr. And that's why Americans have lost touch, because we have no memory of what success looks like. And so that's something we have to rediscover with ourselves, and and be patient with each other, and love each other. Yeah.
And I think the other thing too, though, now is, that percentage that watch TV now to see what's going on in the United States. See what's sending these kids to school. That helps a lot, man. I mean, if you talk to somebody, they say everything is going great. You just say thank you and walk away, because those are not the people you want to talk to. If everything is going great, you can kind of tell, though, but most people know better. Chuck, I tell you, though, man, I think you're doing a great job bringing people together. And the next call, I think, whenever you do it, it'd be nice if everybody on there could have somebody from another minority just to say hello, and let them know that we're working on something for everybody. What do you think about that?
I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely what has to happen. We have to keep bringing people in and just have the conversation, the real conversations, and so that people realize too. Willie is coming back for the One Pair States monthly call on Friday, August 21st. And he's going to come on with a minister, Reverend Sandy Strauss, who's also helping us to understand how we engage community faith. And so we're going to have a lot of conversation on that day, on Friday, August 21st, from 12 to 1. Right. So just put that in your calendar for folks. I'm looking forward to that as well. But every day is a learning day. Go ahead, Willie.
Yeah. But I would ask everybody that's going to be on that call, if they would really take it serious, and especially people that I spoke with, to ask that person that you talk to just take a minute to say hello to an organization that we're coming together to help everybody. I mean, you'd be surprised.
Absolutely.
And just to ask them to think, for them to know that you care enough about them, that right there will build confidence in them. Even if they say, well, maybe not this time, but next time.
Right. And that's another part of the problem here is that white progressives, they have an attitude that we're going to help them. We're going to help minorities. We're going to help people in black and brown communities and poor people. Like, we're going to help them, but it's not a togetherness. It's not working together, and that's what your whole point is here. Is that we have to see ourselves as co-equals. We have to see ourselves as equal in the eyes of whoever our maker might have been, right? We have to see ourselves as equals. What's that?
Well, let me say this though. I had that situation happen to me, and I did. So, well, you know what though? You can't win by yourself. Having one organization, even a Republican can win without minorities. I mean, even Donald Trump got some minorities in there. Maybe a small percentage. But when you take them out of the people that are maybe independents or Democrats, how can you win if you take them out? 36% of Mecklenburg County Democratic Party is African American, 16% Hispanic, 8% is AAPI, and then you got the people like that's from the difference like Nigeria, and that's not even adding that AAPI. So I think progressives got to realize in this day and time it's a new day. And again, though, I guess we brought up, like I was brought up at one time, African American caucus when I first started, just for African Americans. But even my first term, 18 to 20% of my organization was associate members, and they weren't African American. I picked, and don't think that African Americans sometimes say, well, why we got to do that? Because that's what I believe in. I believe that working together is the only way we're going to achieve the goals that we set out to do. So you're exactly right, sir. We got to change our school of thought. We got to change the way we think. Because if we want to succeed, you can't do it by being timid and not at least saying, hello, let me ask you a question. If you could change, what would you do? If you could make something different in here in this next election, what would you want to have? There's so many questions. And most of the time when you start a conversation, the lady that talked to the people at the donut shop, the people that's going to make a call to the people in church, the person that had a neighbor. You see, those are people right now. What you got to lose? You speak to them, nice and courteous, and I think that's going to make a difference. I'm all in for it, though, Chuck. I think that 5% is very much doable. And you take a person to do the numbers of 20 million, look at what it would take, you'd be surprised. Look at the number and that Bernie had for single payer. Just think about it. How many did he have when he doing his when he was at his top? How many voters did he have?
He got 18 million, I think, in the primary. And then you look at the number of unique participants in the Black Lives Matter protests, and that number is about 20 million. And then you look at the climate change, a lot of young people, and I'm talking junior high school young people, and that number was globally, it was over 50 million. So the numbers are there.
That's what I'm saying. It's just that the glass is half full, and we have to go and get them, though. But, man, I just think that it's doable. I'm so optimistic about the future right now with people like yourself, Chuck, and the people that's on this call now. But, again, it's going to take us an effort to do it. But I've always believed you have somebody, I think, had this, whatever the mind of man or woman can believe, achieve, can achieve. I really think there's some truth in that, though. You got to believe it first. You got to believe what we try to do is right. Believe what we're trying to do is bring people together for the right reason. Believe if we do this and bring people in, how this world will look. It looks like what it should like. The world is not white, black, yellow, green. It's a rainbow of colors. So that's my whole thing about that.